Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, whatever time of the day it is, Project Casual listener and viewer. I've got a very special guest here on the show today. It's Peter Cowley. Just while I'm sharing this Facebook Live with different audiences, Peter, perhaps you could introduce yourself and how we know each other.
Yes, so I'm Peter Cowley. I'm actually in Cambridge in the UK. Richard's in Krakow in Poland. We've known each other for about 7 or 8 years, friends, co-investors, do sort of cool stuff together, help each other out. My background is entrepreneurial and angel investor, very active, probably about 13, 14 companies and nearly 70 angel investments. And I've since then, even during this process, I've got involved with the angel ecosystem throughout Europe with various roles.
Okay, just to correct that, I'm actually in Somerset, England at the moment, rather than in Krakow.
Sorry.
But that's not
in Devon, are you?
Yeah, no? in Somerset in southwest England. Perhaps, Peter, you could. I've just shared this with the CAM Entrepreneurs audience, but I'm now going to share it with one or two other business audiences. So perhaps you could talk about what CAM Entrepreneurs is, and also talk about the European Business Angels.
Yes,
in the Business Angels Association, while I'm doing some more sharing.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so CAM Entrepreneurs is an initiative set up by Richard some years ago, probably 3 years ago, which I agreed to join and help, and I'm chair of it, and Richard's everything else, CEO, COO, CFO, etc., and the drive behind it. And it's an organization which helps entrepreneurs once as postgraduates with a connection to Cambridge University, hence the term CAM Entrepreneurs, but not exclusively for Cambridge entrepreneurial graduates. And we have events. We've had events in New York and in Edinburgh and London and Krakow, etc. And probably several. There's one coming up in Sydney soon. So that's a small entity, but it's growing. The other one has been around 20 years. This is the European Business Angel Network, which is the trade body for the whole of Europe. In fact, sort of greater Europe, so it extends outside the European boundaries and provides education and lobbying and networking and deal flow platforming, etc. So it's, as I say, it's been around about 18 years, covers the whole of Europe, and I'm the president of the organization, just elected a couple of months ago, with the remit of improving the early stage entrepreneurial ecosystem where investment is required, or required as well as required.
Thank you for that, Peter. And the reason that I've invited you onto the podcast this time, you've actually been on before, is because of the book you've just published, The Invested Investor. So perhaps you could tell our audience about this. And if this sounds a bit disjointed, listeners, that's because I'm trying to multitask and copying and pasting to get this to a wide audience. So, Peter, could you introduce what the Invested Investor is?
Yeah, so having been an entrepreneur for about nearly 40 years and an angel investor for a decade, I'd be willing to speak. I'm in a reasonable amount of demand, and I find, of course, like anybody, any human being can't scale. So I can't mentor 4, 5, 17 different people at the same time in different locations, etc. So I decided to make it electronic with a set of podcasts, which we've published about 30 so far, and a book. But it's not just about me and my ideas and my background. It includes many, many other people. And Richard, you've obviously contributed at various times, contributed with some of the text, contributed with the podcast, and contributed as being a reviewer. So it's what I'm calling a readable reference book. So it's something you can pick up and actually enjoy reading, almost whether you're involved as an entrepreneur and an investor anyway. And they can go back and look at it to look at due diligence or option schemes or exiting or something later on. And so it's called The Invested Investor because the basis behind it is that we will hopefully improve investors, usually angel investors, to be better investors by being invested. That's invested with time, emotion, etc. But it's also heavily targeted at entrepreneurs, the entrepreneurs who are looking for external investment at early stage. That's not really VC. It doesn't apply to that, but seed funds would do, but it's really angel investors. So the target market is any angel investor who would like to get better results and enjoy it more, or potentially get better results, and any entrepreneur is looking for external funding.
Excellent. And obviously, you were an entrepreneur before you became an angel investor. Can you explain to our viewers and later listeners why you think an entrepreneur should consider an angel investor? What are the advantages of having someone who's been an entrepreneur themselves?
Sounds like it may be 3 o'clock in Somerset, but it's only 8 minutes to 3 here. The time slip is going west. Anyway, sorry, Richard, to answer your question. Yeah, I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. I've had quite a few failures as well as successes. Entrepreneurs in the old days, i.e. the 70s and 80s, would rarely go for investment earlier on. If they did go for investment, it would probably be debt. Debt from banks, debt maybe from family and friends. And then, although equity was obviously used, stock markets go back centuries, it wasn't so normal for for startups to use equity investment. That increased. The angel investing started probably in the 60s or 70s over in the States and came over here. So many startups not believe, but in some cases need, in some cases obviously desire, and in many cases, not many cases, lots of cases actually get early stage investment. The reason for getting investment is because you haven't got enough cash to develop a product and market before you get customers. And so in the service business, that's not quite so important, but in the product business, imagine as an extreme, and I've only invested in one of these, drug discovery. Can you imagine how long it is between the point where something is invented and getting a market? It could be 10 or 12 years. That needs funding, and it won't get funded from debt, so it gets funded by equity investment. So an equity investment clearly is buying shares for cash. So the cash goes into the business, and then the investors and the investors together go on that journey. So to go back to my own businesses, I rarely took any external investment. So most of them are either self-funded or funded by family and friends. I haven't yet, and I still run 2 businesses, and I'm a director of several other businesses as well, 8 startups and 3 trade bodies, sorry. So I don't have much experience myself of using equity investment for myself, my own businesses, but plenty in other businesses.
Okay, and you're based in Cambridge in the UK, and that's not an area that's probably well known to many of the listeners to the podcast or viewers online. Can you explain what's special about Cambridge as a business and from your perspective?
Yeah, so I'm based in Cambridge, but not quite so much as perhaps you think, Richard. So I've already spent a day or 2 plus weekends, most weekends here in Cambridge, but I spent quite a lot of time in London. And of course, with the European route, I'm spending more time further afield in Brussels and Lithuania and France, all over the place. So the reason that Cambridge is fairly well known in the UK and worldwide, apart from the fact we've got a pretty good university here, is because technology startups go back to the 70s. And it's only a very small city, probably 150, 120,000, depending on where you take the geographical limits. But we all know each other, and we're well connected with the university. And the entrepreneurs who have made money, and there's not that many of them, hang around and invest time and money into the new startup. This has gone very echoey, Richard. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Sorry, there was a little bit of an echo there, but I think I fixed it.
So Cambridge hits well above its weight. I mean, we liken it to ourselves, obviously, different climates and everything, to Tel Aviv, which is, again, a very well-connected community. And so the activity per head here in Cambridge is much more than it is, I think, in any city around Europe, because we're so small. And it works because we know each other. It works because we've got a good source of both graduates and technology from the university. It works because we're actually quite close to London. So London's only 45 minutes on the train, and that's quite important because it's 70 or so times bigger than us, and staff down there and customers, etc. And I really enjoy it. So I moved back here, not on purpose, actually. Fate brought me back. I went to uni here, as you did, Richard, but I came back about 15 years ago because of a change of relationship, and I've settled down here, and it's a wonderful place to be an investor. Yes,
and you've certainly done a lot of that. And if you were going to obviously there are a lot of lessons in the book, and the best thing anyone viewing this or listening to this could do is to read your book. But if you're going to summarize the 1 or 2 or 3 most important lessons that an angel investor could learn from reading your book, what would they be? Firstly, from the investor perspective, if someone's considering becoming an angel investor.
Yes, okay. First of all, you can't get the book just yet. Pre-orders have now finished, and my mouth isn't moving. I hope this. In fact, we've lost that. Back again. Hello, Richard. Are you there?
Yeah, I can hear everything, and I can see your mouth moving.
No, I got a rotating circle, so I don't know what you missed there. So first of all, you can't buy it until a week on Monday because the pre-orders are finished, and it's going up on Amazon and our own website, investinvestor.com, with ebooks as well, of course, from the 1st of October. So yeah, in terms of angel investing, probably the first thing to do, which is difficult to do, is to work out what your risk appetite is, because capital that goes into early stage companies is by definition extremely risky. So one has got to assume that one will not get it back again. Now, that's a very dramatic statement to say, and most angels would not dream of investing if they thought that was the case, and they're hoping for a return. And the numbers floating around in our industry are that if you have a biggish portfolio, and that's probably more than 20 companies, and you have patience, and this is probably more than 10 years, and you have a bit of luck, or quite a lot of luck, you can get something like 20 or 25% return on your capital per year, plus of course your capital back again, which is pretty good. That's a pretty, good return. So when nowadays, when back interest rates are so low, so it's understanding your risk appetite, not allocating too much cash to it, and then working out a way of getting at deals. And in the last 3 or 4 years, and I'm not quite sure what it's like in other parts of Europe, we have crowdfunding platforms here in the UK, and that's a way of learning about what investing is about. The chances are that you're not going to, the chances are probably lower than it is for investing actually as a human angel if you go to the platform. But if you go on the forums of the platforms, you will learn a lot from that. From that point on, you've really got to decide, do you really want to get involved with this? Do you want, and then go and join an angel group if you can find one in your local area? There are about 70 here in the UK, and then you will learn from those people. You learn, you'll be able to follow them, understand what the process is, understand who are the good angels in terms of helping, etc. And then if you're really going to embrace it properly, and there are, not thousands, there are hundreds of people in the UK, and I don't know how many in other countries, is to, not turn into a full-time role. There are other things to do with one's life, particularly if you're still employed, but spend time with the entrepreneurs and help them and teach them. This is what the investor is. It's becoming more invested with time in them, in the way that you do, Richard, in a huge way in your hometown, in home city in Poland.
Yes, I just put up a link on the screen to the Syndicate Room, which is a crowdfunding platform that both you and I are involved in. Maybe we can do a little shout out for Syndicate Room. What's special about Syndicate Room as a crowdfunding platform?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure when, I got you involved with it. Yeah, the reason, it's the only crowd platform I would recommend, but I am very biased and conflicted there because the founder, Gonzalo, came to me probably about 6 years ago now and asked for advice. And they built the platform around a human angel or angel group acting as the lead in the same way as we do in the sort of when we're doing it within the group of angels. So that lead will do the negotiation, the due diligence, etc. And then hopefully, in most cases, will stay on the board later and back to guidance, mentoring, coaching, and of course, monitoring and governance as well. So that's quite a different model from many of the other crowdfunding platforms.
Okay. Just when we were kicking off this short podcast and interview, we were asking about why an entrepreneur might be interested in having angels rather than the more traditional family, fools, and friends, who are the 3 Fs who are meant to be the first source of capital if you need capital at all. What would be the reasons an entrepreneur should consider going to experienced angels as opposed to other sources of finance, Peter?
Yeah, well, family, friends, and fools, that many people do that, and it's a bit unfair on the fools, but unfortunately, it does turn out that if you are doing it in an unsophisticated way, the chance of you making money is lower. So if you look at it, life of a company, I mean, if you're going straight into a service business and selling your own services or somebody else's services, you're getting money from the absolute best place you can get it from, which is customers. The customers will not dilute your equity, i.e. you don't have to give away part of the company, which we would take, and even FFF would take, and you're getting product market fit. So you're actually proving that you're doing something that the customers want. But I said before, in many cases, you can't get far enough with customers if you're developing a product. And so you need to go somewhere else. So the initial source of funding will probably be your own and your co-founder's bank account, maybe your partner's income, maybe your family who will put a loan in or possibly equity, and so that's family and friends. And then beyond that, or even before that, if that's not available, because many people haven't got wealthy family and friends, is to go out for angel investing. So you're getting capital in, obviously you're giving away a share of your company, so there are some downsides to that. But on top of the capital, if you choose your angels carefully, you should get a considerable amount of experience, advice, connections, etc. And the ones that generally, and this is from years of experience, not just because I'm one of them, you're one of them, Richard, the ones who generally give better advice as well as the capital, the ones who've been entrepreneurial themselves. And that's pretty obvious, really, isn't it? They've already tried it, they've already taken the risk, they've already had lots of ups and downs, they've had to fire people, hire people, they've had to pivot, to change direction, probably. And so they're the ones who will probably add the most value. What you've got to be cautious of, though, is making sure that they're not going to be detrimental to what you're doing. And so that's really difficult to do. So in the same way that we do huge amounts of due diligence on you as individuals and your business idea and your finances and the market, you should do due diligence on us to make sure we will not get in the way. And there are plenty of examples, and I'm often on stage talking about this, where you get an entrepreneur, builds a business, comes straight out of that business, starts angel investing, and doesn't realize it's actually not their business any longer, and is likely to take some sort of trying to enforce some sort of level of control or even bullying. That doesn't make a very good angel investor. They tend over hopefully a fairly quick time, realize it's not theirs, and they mustn't influence, and they must act with some emotional awareness with the entrepreneurial team, because in the end, the entrepreneurial team, it is their business. They own more than half the company, or almost exclusively on first round, which certainly should do. And secondly, they're putting all their time and effort and emotion into it.
Okay. So thanks very much for that. Just before we close, Peter, you're having a launch event in Cambridge on the 18th of October. Can you describe what's going to happen there and what sort of people you're expecting?
I can do, but we are full, so don't assume you can get in. And you're coming, Richard, certainly. So no, let's just turn that slightly round. We are launching the product, the book, on the 1st of October. So the Amazon website is already up there, and you can order from that. You'll be able to order from our own website, because I actually got to share in a company called James & James, which is a fulfillment house, which is tiny compared with Amazon, but quite important to me. It's here in the UK, but they can ship all over the world. So the launch event on the 18th is really just a party for people I know, mostly in Cambridge, some in London, just because they've helped me so much over the last 10 years or so while I've got to where I am now. So no, don't all turn up just because Richard mentioned it.
No. So the event on the 18th is more a celebration and a sort of
it's not the proper launch. Exactly, yeah.
The formal launch.
Yeah.
Okay. If anyone listening to this or watching this has got any questions for Peter, please do leave them in the comment thread underneath. I've been posting links to Peter's website, petercowley.com, to the investor.com, to the project.
No, it's not petercowley.com. Petercowley.com is somebody else. It's petercowley.org. So.
Sorry, when I said petercowley.com, I meant petercowley.org.
Yes, there's another Peter Cowley who's an angel investor in the UK.
On the screen.
That's right. That's the right screen.
And so with that, I'm going to wrap things up and say thank you very much. Have a nice Saturday afternoon, and I hope this has been of value to our listeners. Thank you very much, Peter.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Thank you. Bye.